Hello, friends and enemies, heroes and villains, welcome to Epic Realms. Our guest today is an amazing musician, singer, songwriter. He started showing up on stage just 4 years ago, at about 2018. Has been featured in magazine interviews and radio. He's also performed on stages with the likes of Tyler, the Creator, the Wu-Tang Clan, and Ludacris. Please welcome Nur-D to the Epic Realms. How you doing?
Yo, thank you so much for having me. It is a dope night. We out here. It's a Monday night. The air is right, and I'm ready to do some talking, some podcasting, some Twitch streaming.
For those that are in the live stream, we might have gotten a little distracted about wrestling talk, so
Yeah.
just bear with it. It probably will come up at some point in time. I caught your show in Gen Con, and I was curious, had you been to Gen Con before you were a performer?
So before I was a performer, I had never been to Gen Con. It was in 2020 when it was all online
Okay.
that the Double Clicks, and shout out to the Double Clicks, my homies over at the Double Clicks, they invited me to be a part of the live stream concert series
Okay.
that they were doing. And I don't even know how the Double Clicks heard of me. Like, to be honest with you, I don't know how they heard of me. But I said, yeah, that sounds fun. And that was my first introduction to Gen Con, was like over the online. And then the next year in 2021, I was like, well, I'll come, like, let me come and perform. And they were like, sure. And then I've been every year. I've been last year and hopefully coming again. So it's a lot of fun.
Did you get to participate in any of the events at Gen Con? Play any
Oh,
games or role play or any of that kind of stuff?
I got to play some games. Gen Con is the biggest gaming convention in the world. It's really hard for you to get out of there without playing some sort of
Right.
games. Shout out to all my friends at Super Show, the best professional wrestling card game. They are so much fun. Every time it's my yearly tradition to go and play in their tournament and lose. Not particularly good at it, but I love playing the game. Every year I just build my deck a little bit better than I did the year before. So it's a lot of fun.
How does that type of a crowd, a Gen Con type crowd, compare to doing other crowds, say like at a casino or something like
Yeah.
that?
I think that the Gen Con crowd it's different because on one hand, you know, a lot of people who come out to a gaming convention, especially specifically a board game convention, they're not like the woo, it's a concert, let's go crazy, let me dance in the aisles type of people. But to that same vein, they get all the references. Like,
Right.
because some of the people who I do shows for, when I'm like, I open for Ludacris and I do 20 Cha and I do a whole song about Dungeons and Dragons references, nobody gets it. Like, they're
Yeah.
not like, oh, yeah, I know what that means. So it's kind of like this fun balance. And once you can break out of that kind of introvert shell that a lot of people have, it's like one of my favorite shows to do.
Yeah. People dancing around. Did you have
Yeah.
to build? Because you get a whole thing going on stage because you're really interactive with the
Yeah.
crowd. Did you have to build that interactiveness, or did you have that from the start?
Well, I was in theater a lot in high school and college. So like, and improv as well. So a lot of like the getting in touch with the crowd that you have in front of you is like a big part of like how I made my mark in performing. So it's not something that I necessarily had to build, but it is something that you have to like do well. You have to do it a lot in order to get it in a place that's like workable for you.
Right. Do you have to always? How hard is it to just be on? Are you like an extrovert where it's
Whew.
easy to just be like I'm on, or are there days where you're like, God, I can't do this? And
There are
how do you
days.
transition?
Yeah, there are days. I think you just kind of turn it on. It's like a job. That's like anybody at a job. I think if you work at a job where you have to like interact with people in any way, like there's a switch that you kind of flip when it's time to interact with somebody, and you're
Yeah.
like, hey, cool. And honestly, everybody who comes to see my show, whether they've bought a ticket to a convention that I'm performing at, or they bought a ticket to come see me, they are the customer. You know what I mean? They took the time and their hard earned money to come and listen to me perform. So I want to give them the best possible experience that I can give them because this is my job. Like, I like to do it and I want to show people that I am honored to do it. So even on those days where I'm like, ugh, I don't know, I'm like, yo, I'm living my dream. I'm making music and getting paid for it. So at the end of the day, like I can just like put some of that stuff aside and then just perform. And when I get home, if I just need to lay down and turn off all the lights, I will do that.
Yeah, for sure. You have a whole entourage, at least at Gen Con you did. Did you start off with a whole entourage, or was it just you putting the
Yeah.
music together and then you brought people in? How does that come about
Yeah.
for you?
Well, I started off in rock and roll, so I wasn't always in a hip hop position.
Okay.
So a lot of the people in my band, shout out to the Friendly Neighborhood Spider Band, by the way, but like other people in my band were in my band before. And so we've kind of been rolling together, rocking with each other for over 10 years now.
Okay.
So like we are all pretty good friends. We've added new people since then. We've all gotten really close. But yeah, it is a one-man show with the exception of like shout out to DJ Hayes, who does so much of my production work. It is a lot to juggle sometimes, but I love being able to do full band shows with the whole group because then I have the crew with me, my pirate crew. We get to sail the east, west, north, south blue together. So it's a lot of fun.
Nice. Did you have big inspirations when it came to writing some of your music? Going into it, obviously you talked about having a song that's entirely about D&D.
Yeah,
What are
yeah.
some of your other inspirations for your work? Is it all like geeky gaming, wrestling related stuff, or are there other things involved as well?
There are other things. It's not just, geek culture, nerd culture. I mean, obviously you have professional wrestling, video games, cartoons, like anime. There's a lot of stuff that I make music about that I like a whole lot.
Hmm.
But also there's like social change and, activism work and just being a young black kid in America
Yeah.
has allowed me to have a different perspective than some other people in the same genre, especially nerdcore, which ironically, as a hip hop form, is pretty saturated in like the white perspective. So it's really cool to be able to be a part of it in a way that's different than some of the other big names. Not that they're like all bad people or anything like that, but like it's just like interesting to like be able to provide that example.
Right. Did you ever have issues coming up with content to make for songs, or writer's block, singer's
Oh
block, as
yeah.
it were? And how do you
Oh,
how do you tackle that kind of stuff when you're putting something together?
um, deadlines are helpful.
I was gonna say, is
I'm a
there a time crunch where you're like, I don't have a choice?
Yeah, deadlines are helpful. Like knowing when I want to put something out will help me like go like, well, I gotta write this song because we need to have the record done. So you're gonna have to figure something out. That's really fun. It helps me do it. But honestly, writer's block, I've been trying to just let inspiration come as it comes. The best way to do that is just to live life. Go see your friends, see your family, go walk around outside, enjoy the world that we're in because as an artist, your job is to like talk about it. So if
Yeah.
you're just sitting in a room being like, I gotta write, I gotta write, I gotta write, I gotta write, eventually you're gonna get really repetitive. It's all gonna sound the same because you're just sitting in a room going, I gotta write, I gotta write, I gotta write, I gotta write. So like go out, live some life, and come back with some experiences that you can then just it will just come out of you and go on to into the microphone and then off to the world.
Yeah, I think emotions and experiences are a huge asset in
Yes.
any performing art, really. You get stand-up comedians, you get musicians, you get, actors, and they all draw from those situations.
Yeah.
Most of the best, it's like I said, stand-up comedy, a lot of the best stand-up comedy is stuff where they're like, yeah, I went to a grocery store and blah 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 blah
And
blah,
then this
and then
happened.
you're like, that is funny as heck, I've experienced that. Because there's that relatability. Do you ever
Exactly.
feel um that you hit a point, you talked about like Ludacris, do you ever feel like you don't have a relatability with certain crowds, or do you feel that you can relate with pretty much any crowd?
I think I have a pretty good relationship with the crowds I go and hang out with and every time I do a show, I think I can find something to connect with people in. I will say, and like I always tell people like, yo, I get enough gigs that I'm allowed to be honest. But like I can say that like some of the harder gigs to do are like corporate gigs like corporate, like big Fortune 500 company gigs. So,
Yeah.
a lot of those are private, so it's not like go bring a bunch of your friends.
Right.
And then a lot of times it's just like there is an intern or a millennial or younger who's like super into like, we're gonna shake up the space and we're gonna do this really cool thing. We want you to come in and do this. And so I get up on stage and it's just a room full of people whose like pocket watches could pay my rent for the next 15 years. And they just look at me and I'm just like, well, I'm gonna sing some songs about Dragon Ball Z. Hope you guys are ready for that. And they just kind of look around and they're just like, I don't know what this kid's doing here. I mean, I still end up having fun, and good music can really like break down some of those barriers. It's
Yeah.
talent will do that, but it is a lot more of an uphill battle with something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find any issues with like brainstorming ideas, or do you brainstorm with friends coming up with music, or do you just do it all yourself?
When I have like a feature, I do. Like when I have a feature, like so most recently my feature with Crowfather, shout out to Crowfather, my newest single, Great Performer, we did sit down in my living room and talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
And the concept was a little heavier, about like, faking it till you make it, pretending to be cool when you're not. Sometimes that can like have a little bit more of like delicate touch with
Yeah.
something like that. So we did have a time to talk. But a lot of time, my music's really personal to me. So a lot of times I just take that time to figure it out myself. Um, I've not put out songs because I've been like, this might not be something that I should speak on. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just not my lane. I'll let someone else talk about it.
Do you ever
So
reach
like,
out to anybody else that you think would be better and be like, "Hey,
yeah.
I had this idea for a song, and it's not my platform, but I think it might be your
Mhm.
platform."
Yeah, I don't ever actually told anybody that, hey, like, is this something you want to talk about? Because I figure if it is something that they are steeped in, they'll probably have already like got that under control.
Yeah.
But I will ask, like, hey, I'm thinking about writing a song about this topic that isn't 100%, in my alley. Could you give me some, advice? Could you tell me if this is even a good idea?
Yeah.
Like, give me some, and nobody's a monolith and nobody represents an entire community, but I think it's important to ask your friends that are different than you, like when you have those moments.
Yeah, for sure. When you're putting
Yeah.
together music, uh
Mhm.
do you have instruments that you particularly play? Do you play instruments? Is it all
I
digital? Do you have
can
other people do it
tickle
all?
the ivories a little bit.
Okay.
And I used to play bass, and way back in the day, I played
Okay.
trombone. Um, I love horns, so I like to put horns on everything. But a lot of times I let the musical creation up to different people who are really passionate about that, and I can use my lyrics and stuff like that because that's where I shine and singing. I will say that I've been very lucky that my band is super talented because I am kind of like a warlock when it comes to music. Like I don't it's not about intelligence or knowing what the spells are doing. It's very much charisma based focus. So I'm just like, I wanted to go skibbity bop bop ba doobity bop, and then everyone has to find out what skibbity bop to doobity bop means. And because I know what it is in here, and it's
Yeah.
hard to translate it
I was gonna say,
out of
what
my
is
mouth.
kind of the process sitting down? Because like,
Mhm.
do you write the lyrics and then they write the music, or do they write the music and you go, oh, I got to make lyrics to that?
It's kind of both. Sometimes I work with producers who have like beats already set up,
Okay.
and then I'm just go like, "Ooh, this beat makes me feel XYZ. I'm gonna write about XYZ." Sometimes it's like I feel like speaking about ABC, and now I need to find a beat or an instrumental that sounds like ABC. Other times I do it all by myself. I'm saying it in my room. I'm like in my closet, just being like, and then it's gonna go now, and I'm like, okay, cool. Record that on your phone, and then bring it to the band and be like, okay, listen to me say bow and now and now a bunch of times, and let's get this down into real musical like notes.
Yeah.
And it works out. It's worked out really well.
Yeah, that's awesome to be able to pluck it right out of your mind and be like, this is what I want, and then they just, and
Yes.
that's the beauty with music, because people that love music, they'll hear what you're saying and they'll go, oh yeah, I get what you're putting down. And then they'll just
Yeah.
nail it. So have you ever had a time where they didn't nail it, where they're like, no, that's not what I'm hearing?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. I don't think it'll happen. They're too talented.
Did you? So you mentioned you were in like a rock band earlier
Yep,
when you were
rock and
younger.
roll. Hmm.
Did you have like? Well, obviously you did. What kind of musical influence did you have growing up to get to this point?
Yeah, well, I loved 80s hair metal. I still do. It's one of my favorite genres of music. So 80s hair metal is big for me. Sister Christian by Night Ranger is my favorite song in the world.
Okay,
Anyone, you ask anybody.
I can dig that.
Big into it. Motorhead is, oh gosh, you played that song is dope. But Stevie Wonder, other bands, Prince, clearly, Minnesota Boy is
Yeah,
Prince, anytime. Is super great. Obviously, all the greats, like, and then even people like Chance the Rapper and Outkast, when I started doing hip hop, like I have a lot of musical influences that have allowed me to like get to where I am musically. But yeah, back when rock and roll, we did a whole lot. Like we were trying, we our final band name, because we switched our names a lot. Our final band name ended up being Black Genesis, which was, what if Phil Collins was black? We're Black Genesis, because a lot of people thought we were a metal band because that sounds very metal, but we very much were not.
that's great. I love Genesis. So
Yeah, exactly. Who doesn't love Genesis?
right, they were on the when he made his return like a couple years ago, and he showed up on the Tonight Show, and
Yeah.
watching Questlove just nail the drum solo for that. It's like, yes, like I was watching, I was like, I gotta watch Phil Collins, and he nailed it, and I jumped up, I was like, yes, he nailed it.
Yes, we love it.
Was there ever a musical instrument that you wished you could have learned, or that you'd like to learn?
Oof. I mean, I think at every point in one's life, someone wishes they knew how to play the guitar like super crazy well, because that would be cool. Just being able to be like,
Yeah,
um, I also would love to play the keytar. I think I'd love to learn how to play that really well, because somehow that seems like even cooler. Because no
yeah,
one whips out a keytar anymore. So if I
no.
was in the middle of the stage and I was like, like I started came in. For those of you who are watching or listening to the podcast later, there's a lot of hand motions that I'm
there
doing
is,
that
there
you
is. He's
will
doing
not
a
be
lot, a
able
lot
to
of air
see.
guitar, a lot of air guitar.
But at the same time, it is essential for what I'm trying to do. So when I go, imagine my hands moving up and down a visible guitar. So I'd love to learn how to play the guitar, and also, I wanted to play the trumpet when I was in middle school, but they wouldn't let me. So they made me play the trombone instead. So
if there's
maybe the trumpet.
if there was one instrument that somebody a solo instrument that you could just listen to, like you're like you have to sit down and listen to this for 10 hours, what one instrument solo would you listen to?
And there's nothing else going
Nope,
on.
nothing else going on, just one
Then
instrument.
get then guitar probably,
Guitar, yeah.
or piano, because
Piano.
like you could like you can build a whole lot of stuff with that. I will say, if there was a groove behind it, like a rhythm section groove,
Okay.
I will say that a bass solo can get like, it is one of like it's really subtle, but when it's pulled off really well, oof, it's so tasty. I
Yeah,
love it.
I love the saxophone. I don't know what it is. I hear a saxophone going in the background. It's like, yeah, I don't know, just me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a musician, so maybe in
We
another
have a lot
life.
of saxophones in the band, so they're all awesome. All my
Mm-hmm.
saxophone players are
Mm-hmm.
great.
Let's switch gears just a little bit, because we've talked. You're a nerd, geeky culture, role
Yes.
playing. How long have you been role playing?
Oh my gosh, since forever. I think I played my first Dungeons and Dragons game when I was in sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
Right? That was like right around the time where it was like I didn't care so much that it would send me to hell forever for playing the game. Shout out the 90s Satanic Panic.
I,
Um,
I I wasn't allowed to play D&D. We played GURPS because I wasn't allowed to play D&D. And we're like,
yep,
yeah, mom,
yep,
we're playing GURPS. Yep, we're totally playing GURPS. All right,
yeah.
get out the D&D
So
player's manual.
yeah, exactly. So shout out to Dungeons and Dragons. So I played that, and I played 3.5 version forever,
Right.
like forever. And then obviously as things progressed, I went upwards, but I played a whole lot of other games as well. I'm big into the TTRPG is my jam. RPGs are my favorite video game style as well.
Yeah.
So it's just like I love it. I love it. It's my favorite version of things.
Okay. would you prefer to be? Do you prefer to be a player or a GM? That's the question.
I
That's
think it
always the
depends.
question. When I find
Yeah.
somebody who role plays, that's the question.
Mhm. I think it depends on the table.
Okay.
I think it depends on the table. I think that if you have a table full of really like hungry and like so like the character focused players, I'd rather be a DM because a lot of times those players, as well meaning and exciting as they are, they don't leave room for other people to shine.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it turns out to be whoever's the biggest personality in the group ends up kind of eating up most of the time. And then as someone who notices that and feels that as a DM, I can kind of just like force the spotlight on other players
Yeah.
to give them their chance to shine. But if I'm playing with a group of people who are like really collaborative and everyone's really excited about everybody else's time, well then yeah, then I like to be a player because like I like to explore like character tropes and storylines and stuff like that. So it kind of depends on who's at the table with me.
Okay. That's fair enough. What you mentioned different kinds of games and whatnot. Is there another system you're playing right now besides
Yeah. I love Mask the Next Generation. Mask the Next Generation is so fun. It's like if you ever wanted to play Young Justice, like if you like the show Young Justice, and if you ever wanted to play a TTRPG that was like very much that show,
Okay.
Masks the Next Generation is fantastic. I've also gotten into Mutants and Masterminds, Kids on Bikes. I'm really into Mutant. Oh yeah, I said Mutants and Masterminds. I'll say it again because I like Mutants and
Yeah,
Masterminds.
me
It's
too.
great. Monster of the Week is fun. I like that game as well. And I just bought the Power Rangers TTRPG book, and so I am reading the
Oh
Power Rangers
no.
TTRPG to see like what that's all about. So yeah, we'll see. I was a big Power Ranger guy. So like I was like, ooh, if there's a game about it, maybe I figure
True
that
kid
out.
of the 90s right there. Power Rangers fan.
Yeah, it's Morphin time, baby. I'm talking Mighty Morphin. I watched Power Rangers from Mighty Morphin. I think the last season of Power Rangers that I just like watched, like I watched the whole way through. I knew everything was going on in it. Was Ninja Storm. I
Okay.
think after Ninja Storm, I kind of like was like I'm done with Power Rangers, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. What's your favorite class to play in a D&D-ish Pathfinder
Yeah,
type
my
setting?
favorite class to play. I love spellcasters. It's a lot of fun. I will say that I've been getting into fighter and fighters more. I think there's something about just like it's funny because even though Batman's not my favorite superhero, there's something fun about being the regular person in a group full of like, I'm gonna throw fire at God. You know what I mean? Like I like the idea of just being
Right.
like, I'm walking up and I'm gonna punch you. That's what I'm gonna do.
I cast
I'm gonna
punch.
punch. I'm gonna punch you hard. That's all I. That's all I can. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna punch it, and I'm gonna punch it hard. And I think there is something endearing about that, but also ultimately Warlock and the Warlock-ish vibes have always been really my vibe. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun to be able to find ways to go around that. I've also been getting really into support characters recently, like finding ways to like make support characters cool. So
I'm a
those are
forever
my
rogue,
moves.
forever bard rogue type character. That's me
Nice.
all the way.
Rogues are dope. I'm playing a rogue artificer at the moment, so I totally get you.
Nice. You could play a bard with a keytar.
I could. If a bard artificer with an electric guitar.
There you go.
Oh, well, that's ready to go. That writes itself.
uh, hey, what about comics? Do you read comics? Pay attention to comics? Comic book fan?
Yes. I have this in the year 2023. My goal is to read a comic every day. 365 comics this year is the plan. So I've been reading comics my whole life, but I love comics and I have no, you know, preference. I'm not a Marvel kid, I'm not a DC kid. I read whatever I like,
Yeah,
and whatever I like, I read. So I'm big into comic books. I love it.
I like looking at it that way. Like I usually say I'm a DC guy, and it's not that I
Mhm.
favor DC. It's just that's mostly what I read. You know, like
Mhm.
I love a Punisher, I love a Spider-Man, I love a Wolverine, especially
Yeah.
in the land of, you know, Marvel Cinematic Universe. How can you not become a Marvel fan?
I mean, Marvel has always been pretty fun. I mean, the X-Men are some of my favorite comic books. I
Mhm.
think I have all of the new Dawn of X stuff. Like, I love the X-Men thoroughly, thoroughly love the X-Men. So I'll read the X-Men. I'll read Black Panther. Super into that. Moon Knight is actually really fun to read.
Okay.
So like, yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff that Marvel has. Growing up, I was much more of a DC dude, as well. But also, DC's got amazing comic books. It's really hard to like get mad at DC for putting
Right.
out consistently great comics all the time.
Right. For sure. For sure. Say they make a movie of a DC or a Marvel or whatever. Say they make a movie of a comic book character and they want you to write the soundtrack for it. Who do
Ooh.
you want the movie to be about?
Oh no.
Oh yeah, see, I'm pulling
Okay,
out all
all
the
right.
stops. I'm
All
gonna
right.
pull some questions on you you didn't expect.
Okay. All right. I got a twofold answer. All right. I got a twofold answer. I got
Then you're gonna
a
have to explain why.
yeah, I got a I got a DC answer and a Marvel answer, so no
Okay.
one thinks I'm on any particular
All
side.
right. Sounds good.
I think for DC, if I could make a if there was going to make a movie and I could write the soundtrack, I would want it to be this is going to be a deep cut.
Yeah.
Jacob Thunderbolt from the Justice Society of America. He is a young black boy who, whether he inherits, I forget exactly how he gets it, but he gets the pen, the secret super pen that Johnny Thunderbolt used to use back in the day, which releases a genie. And he, once he says too cool, he releases this genie that grants him a wish for the duration of a certain amount of time. And then that he does like superhero stuff with a
Okay.
bunch of the old kids or the old guard of the Justice Society. He's a Teen Titan now, but
Okay.
he was a Justice Society member before. I think because my first instinct would be Static Shock, but I feel like there'd be too much competition there, and I'd like to do something completely different that no
Yeah.
one's ever done. So I would do Jacob Thunderbolt. It'd be like, what if Kazam was a superhero? And I think that'd be a fun thing to see. My Marvel choice, that's so tough.
It
I
is.
think if I could
There's so
do
many good ones.
mhm. I think if I could do a soundtrack for a Marvel thing, gosh, that's a lot harder because like Marvel characters are all over the place. I think I'd want to do one of the X-Men teams. I think I'd do Ecstatic.
Okay.
I think I'd do Ecstatic, like or the New Warriors. No, I'll take it back. I'll do the New Warriors. I think
Nice.
I would probably it would be the hardest thing I'd ever have to do because New Warriors story it starts off like regular superhero team. It gets really weird into like, oh, we're a reality television show, and then it just ramps up super serious, like a whole town exploded and it's all our fault. Like, so it would be like a
But maybe it's a Disney
very
Plus series and you're doing the soundtrack for the Disney Plus
yeah.
series. There you
So
go.
I think the New Warriors would probably be my move. I think
Okay.
that'd be the move for me.
Now is it because it you like those characters or because it fits your musical
I
taste and styles you
like
think
the
it would be a
characters
good
of New World. Night Thrasher is cool. Justice is cool. Um, Even in the newer version, I mean, like, oh, I completely blanked on the name because he's Penance, but he's not Penance all the time. Um, yeah, it's not Golden Boy, it's not Bouncy Boy. But Marvel Boy, I don't remember what his name is, but he could like, but he bounced everywhere. I liked him, and so I like all the characters in New Justice, and so it'd be cool to do just like music for them. Also, it's a team that nobody really knows, very
right.
Guardians of the Galaxy esque. Even though they're very important to the Marvel universe, like they kicked off one of the biggest events that's ever happened
Right.
in this whole comic book world, really, in the
Right.
Civil War. I think that it'd be cool to do a whole soundtrack for them. I think it'd be really fun. Ecstatic would be a close second, also because I love the Ecstatic team. Again, a reality television show, group of kids, powers are weird, and I like that kind of stuff.
Nice. Nice. Have you ever done anything along those lines for, obviously maybe not for a TV show or a movie, but for like a play or anything like that, where they've had you come in and write music or do music for something like that?
I haven't yet, but if you're sticking around the nerdy verse for a little bit of length of time, there will be, there might be some video games you might hear your boy on. I
Ooh.
have done some like video game music that for games that's never come out. Like I have done like, hey, we need a song for a supervillain. We need a song for hero, and like for their test market, like we just need something that sounds like this. Could you make this so that when we bring it to the people we bring it to, that there's some music in the background? I
Yeah.
have done that, but nothing like serious, like this is the soundtrack for the real game.
Okay. Cool, cool. But there might be possibly, if
There
we
might
pay
be.
attention, a little thingy thing that's happening. Okay. All right. I see.
I have made some like opening credit music for some TTRPG games and some
Okay.
live streams, and that's kind of fun to do.
That is really cool. That is cool, cool, cool. Um, Not just cool that you've done it, but that you're willing to do stuff like that as well, you know.
Mm.
So that's awesome. Does that bridge the gap? Is it mostly hip hop? Is it rock? Or does it, like, if somebody comes up to
Oh,
you
it's
and is
kind of
like,
it's
if
whatever.
somebody comes up to you and is like, I'd like to pay you to make me a country song, would you be like, sure, I'm done with that?
Sure, yeah, I can make it. Like,
Nice.
yeah, I can do my best. I'm pretty good at that sort of thing. Like the one I made was very Game of Thronesy when I was like making people's stuff for shout out to the governor and the welcome in. I made a whole thing for their campaign, and it was very, like it didn't sound like that, but you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah.
It was very
It was
much
in
like
that
that.
vein.
Is in that vein. So I can't do it. I can't do it. I do like doing that kind of stuff. Instrumental, big. I love trailers because I love trailer music.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Trailer
yeah.
music is some of my favorite. Where they take a song that everybody knows and they like make it super serious. It's like, if I'm been to Cotton Eye Joe, bum, 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 bum. I've been married a long time ago. Bum, 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 bum. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Boom, 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 boom. Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. And there's someone like running through a building and they're jumping. People shooting everybody. Where did you come from? Where did you come from? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye. Boom. 2023. You know what I mean? Like I love that kind of stuff. It's my
That's awesome.
favorite thing.
A little aside. So you and I talked off stream a little bit about wrestling stuff.
Yes.
I trained as wrestling. I wrestled in the Midwest here for 5-10 years, and we used to drive through these towns in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to say Hicksville nowhere, but that's kind of
Yeah.
what it was. And we, being young, stupid kids, we come through the town and we'd roll down the windows and we'd play that song and we'd crank it. And then
Yes.
we'd clap our hands, and then when we drive by somebody that had this look very stereotypically hick, we'd give them the big thumbs up and a big cheesy smile, and they'd look at us like,
Who
we're
are
gonna
these
kill
kids?
you. And
Yeah.
we did a show, and one of those people was at the show that day, and they were just fuming. And luckily, the people I was traveling with, they were bad guys beforehand, so they got it all
Nice.
taken out of them. So, um, speaking of wrestling, actually, let's not speak about wrestling. I want to talk about a song, "Glorious."
Oh, yes.
You have your song "Glorious," which and we'll get into wrestling after this, but explain to me, because that samples from Bobby Roode's song. We talked about this a little on the side.
Bobby Roode, yeah.
How does sampling work? How much can you use? How much are you allowed to do? Kind of, how does that work? Because a lot of people don't know. They
Yeah.
speculate, but you
Mhm.
actually do it.
Yeah. So a sample is a term that it's used, but it's not really. That was more of like an interpolation or extrapolation. Like
Okay.
nothing from the song itself is from the song, but it is meant to evoke that feeling that Bobby Roode does. That's why we use the line. We throw our hands up when we're doing the show. It's sort of a case by case. Some people are more about it than others. Some other
Okay.
people are like super serious about it. I think that there is certainly a line when you start to use the actual music or use the actual like audio from something else that gets into like the legal aspect of things. But when you're using something and you're evoking the emotion, or you're referencing it, I think a great example is uh Miley Cyrus just did that with Bruno Mars, just her most recent drop. You know what I mean? Very much like evoking the lines of "I could have bought you flowers," doing
Yeah.
like and changing it on its head. It's very much like that. It's depends on who you're doing it to. Some people are super cool about it, some people aren't. I was lucky enough that WWE was really cool with it, because like they were like, "Yeah, it's great." Like,
Nice.
come and just hang out with us, and I was a ambassador when they came through here not too long ago for Raw, and I got to be front row and do all that stuff, and that was really fun. But yeah, so that's kind of how it worked. Glorious worked out that way, and what a great intro song, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
One of the best to come out in, I want to say, the last 5 years, last 5-10 years. Bobby Roode's intro music was like it made him.
It did make him.
Like
It
it
was.
made him.
And
Like
then
the
you put it with
intro
the
song,
entrance and the way he played it off.
it was perfect. They missed opportunity for like a major world champion.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There are very few people whose entrance music really resonated with the audience. I think Shinsuke was another one. They ended up changing it because they wanted him to be heel. It's like, but his music was so great.
It's so great. It was number one on iTunes. Like
Right.
Shinsuke Nakamura's music was number one on iTunes. Like his entrance music didn't have any words in it. It's
Right.
just that is so dope. Like that is it's one of my favorite intro songs. And I think now, and this goes for both AEW, WWE, TNA, theme songs are kind of like, people have just like for some reason thought that that's not important anymore, and it is so
Right.
important. Because
Right.
I keep thinking like there's a lot of people in these wrestling worlds that their intro music is bland. It's bland.
Yeah.
It needs some seasoning. Give me something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love me a good intro song.
Who currently has your favorite intro that, like, when they come out, you're like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till so and so comes out so I can hear their music.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say Jungle Boys is growing on me. I will
The classic old school, yeah.
yeah, that's, I know that's not going to be able to be sustainable forever. He's not going to want to be Jungle Boy for the rest of his career. So like I get that that's probably going to go away, but that was growing on. That one's growing on me. I love Bray Wyatt's new theme.
Yeah.
I think that's really, again, I think that's really good. I wish they would get a mic on the crowd, because once people start knowing it, hearing everyone being like, "You'll love me, brother, love one another," I think is really gonna like, it'll take it from like, this is a really cool entrance to like, this is like a moment like
Yeah.
that everyone waits to do.
Yeah.
So I will say that Bray Wyatt's new song is up there. Carry On My Wayward Son by the Elite.
Yeah.
That was when they first did it, when they first came back.
First night, yeah.
That first night, I remember going like, that was worth every cent they paid for it. That is the dopest thing, because WWE, one of the things that they will never do, they don't license songs that you know.
Yeah.
Because they want to own it. They want to own everything about it. They want to keep it. They don't want to pay royalties to nobody. So it's like Ronda Rousey was the last, like it was CM Punk and it was Ronda Rousey, the only two people who have songs that I can think of that are from people that they didn't commission.
Right.
Maybe Triple H might have commissioned a song,
Right.
and Bray Wyatt commissioned a song. But like most of these people don't do that. So like when I heard Carry On My Wayward Son and then Don't You Cry No More, boom, lights. And you're just like, I was just I turned around and I was just like, that was worth every cent they paid for it. Like that is the dopest thing. It's so like, it's so AEW. I don't know how else to express it. It's so AEW, but in a way that it is it's beautiful. So those are probably my favorites right now. Street Profits is a close second. And then I'm trying to think. The fact that I can't that it's not coming up shows you that it's not great. Shinsuke Nakamura obviously still has a great intro.
Right.
Finn Balor used to have a great intro.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
butchered it.
I
And
agree.
they butchered it. The judges,
Seth Rollins? Seth Rollins?
Seth Rollins knows how to make all of his intros interesting.
Okay.
The whoa.
That's what I was gonna.
Like, he did that. That the song itself is boring.
Yeah.
It's everybody doing it that makes it fun. The song itself is not really all that interesting.
Yeah.
And Seth Rollins made it, because
Yeah.
before it was just boring. And the Burn It Down isn't even cool anymore. No one even sings
No.
Burn It Down.
Nobody
anymore.
yells it at
But
the beginning.
Nobody yells it, but now everyone does the oh, whoa, 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 and that's pretty good. I personally think that Becky Lynch needs to change her music. I get that everybody knows it, which it comes out.
But it's not the
think,
steampunk. She's not the steampunky character anymore.
Yeah, I really think that that song's kind of it's a little weird. Charlotte Flair's got a decent enough one, but it's still a little odd. You know, it's still like still makes you think of Ric Flair, and I get that like that's what the point, but it's kind of just like maybe give her own thing to do. And Damage Controls is god awful. It is their heels just for making us hear it every week. Like, it is so bad. That's the worst thing they've done, was to subject people to that god awful song week after week.
All right. Next question for you. And this is very similar. Who do you want to make wrestling intro music for? And who do you think would fit you?
Hurt Business.
Hurt Business. Nice.
Hurt Business. If they said the Hurt Business is getting back together, we need a theme song in an instant. I'll do it for a song. Like that is, I think that is the most underrated faction that we've had in a minute.
And it came down too quick.
It came too quick. I really think hopefully they bring it back. I saw some people talking about the Street Profits.
I was going to say that. I was just going to say that. Yeah, that would be awesome, I think.
I think that'd be so dope. Let's get it. Let's make it poppin'. Shelton Benjamin is another person I'd write some theme music for. The underrated, you know, the Dragon Whip, the OG, the gold standard, honestly, like
the most devastating Shawn Michaels super kick of all time.
Really, like, come on. Like, Shelton Benjamin walked so all of these people that are doing stuff today could run. They owe him everything.
Right.
And so I would do a song for him easy.
You know,
and then the New Day as well. I think I would do really well. I'm trying to think of anyone.
I would just like to see you go out with them and just do stuff with them.
Tell them, if y'all know the New Day, tell them that I would do anything. I would do anything. John Cena, just because it would make me millions of dollars.
Right.
And just because it would make me millions of dollars, I'd do it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then Ricky Starks over in AEW.
Oh yeah, I love Ricky Starks.
I think I would do that.
Very like when I first saw him, I was like, you know, there's people always say they're so little. But then I saw him in there with MJF. I'm like, he's not little. Jesus Christ,
no.
He's great. Yeah. Like, I like the character and I like the stuff he says, and that last promo he did was money.
Yeah. So I'll do that. That's my AEW pick, but most of it's in WWE because that's where I live.
Right. Let's talk about Justice Frontline Aid.
Let's talk about
it. How did this come about? For those that don't know, it's an amazing nonprofit organization that you started. And tell me about it, because I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I didn't know that was you. I didn't, you know, so tell me.
You know, JFA is an amazing group. They are a group of volunteers, all volunteers here in the Twin Cities. And basically what we do is we provide first aid as well as protest help, supplies, making sure that people get home safely from all sorts of actions. And we started off in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. We were taking care of our community, and it's just kind of become an organization unto itself. So many awesome and amazing people inside of it. Like, it is the bomb. So that's essentially what we do. We just take care of our community the best way we can. We go to schools. We talk to them about protest safety and protest history. It's a lot of education. It's a lot of making sure that people get home safe. Like, that's our whole job.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You guys have classes, it looks like. You got a classroom, people can volunteer. They can click justicefrontlineaid.org, everyone, if you want to check it out.
Yes.
It's an amazing, amazing organization.
Yes,
So check
official
it out.
nonprofit, super great. So if you want to do donations or something like that, it's tax deductible, super dope. We work really hard to make sure that we can be there from our community in all the ways that we can.
Yeah. How far spread is that now at this point? Is it
We
still mostly
are
Minnesota? But you're in a few
It's
states, aren't you?
mostly Minnesota. It's mostly Minnesota, but we also given our services to the Midwest in general. We also took a bunch of people down to Washington D.C. for the anniversary of the Million Man March, which was
Okay.
really cool. And you bring a lot of families of victims of police brutality out there, so they could join their voices with the people out there. So that was really cool. So we take a lot of pride of kind of being able to stretch ourselves where we're needed.
Okay. Cool, cool. So hopefully all our listeners can go and
Yes,
listen to
please.
that and check that out. You have some shows coming up. Tell us about your shows and
Yeah.
events.
Yes, I got some really cool things coming up. Well, the first thing is the big thing I want to tell people, because that's gonna make sure you hit them with the realness. On Saturday, your boy is going to be, I don't know what's going on with my computer. I'm sorry, I was like trying to pull up my stuff and it keeps zooming back and forth to different stuff. But the music video for my song Wait for Graves from my Heaven album is going to be out everywhere, which is really cool.
Okay.
So you can find it on Nur-D TV, which is my video service where you can listen to music, you can see fun shows, and we have fun shows coming out, even more funny things that are coming up in the next couple months and weeks. So we got that. So on Saturday we have that. Also, if you're here in the Twin Cities on the 3rd of February, you'll hear it here first, because I don't think anyone else has said it, and it's not a secret, but I'm going to be doing the halftime show of the Timberwolves game, so be sure to be there. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then, well, I want you to keep your eyes and ears open, because on January 31st, I'm going to be announcing a brand new something that is coming out. I can't tell you what it is now, but it's really cool. And it's going to be something that I think that hopefully everybody will enjoy. But outside of concerts, I'm also on a new D&D live stream game, which starts tomorrow on the Dice Cream Sandwich Twitch. It's called Hell on Earth. I'll be playing a character named Peace, the Pride Breaker. I'm very excited for this build. It is a level 20 campaign, so we're talking about some massive pew pew pew, some massive pew 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 people.
Okay.
And it's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you're into that sort of thing, you check it out. And then I'm also going to be in another game that I don't know if it's been announced yet, but it's going to be called Secrets of the Core, and I'm really excited. I'm playing a character named Tag, who is a wizard graffiti artist. It's gonna be really interesting. So check it out. I got a lot of cool stuff coming up. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Are you gonna get those paints that you can paint like actual physical things and be like
in the air?
Yeah. Or you could go up to a building and you paint a door in there, and then you open the door and
open the door and walk through it. Yeah, we talking about full cartoon Hanna-Barbera power level here.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Everybody go and check those out. People that are in the live stream, you have the link to the Dice Cream Sandwich. Go ahead and give them a follow. You're on Twitter at Nur-D Rocks.
Yeah.
Instagram, Nur-D Rocks. TikTok,
right.
Nur-D Rocks.
Everything.
Facebook, / Nur-D Club.
Yep.
Patreon, / Nur-D Rocks.
Yes.
You can check out your website at nurdrock.com. And you're on Spotify and all the music places. And again, check out justicefrontlineaid.org. The Marvelous Pigments. Somebody in our live chat says Marvelous Pigments. That's what it is.
Yeah. Marvelous Pigments.
Marvelous Pigments. Everybody listening to the podcast, thank you for listening to the show. People in our live stream, stick around. We're going to do some live Q&As. All of your questions that you have asked and some of your comments as well, we will get to here in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about tomorrow, Tuesday the 24th, which is, again, tomorrow for you and me, live here. We're going to have a special live stream here on Twitch. We're going to be joined by urban fantasy author Hunter Blaine of the Preternatural Chronicles. He's also got a new comic book author, comic book series that's out. He's got his first book, his second book's on the way. He's going to be joining us. We're also going to be joined by author Justin Leslie of the Max Abaddon series. He's also part of the Zombie Sinking Man series of books. Both of their books are narrated by one Luke Daniels, Hall of Fame audiobook narrator, who is also going to be joining us. All three of them are going to be here on Twitch to play Dead by Daylight. So,
my goodness.
Join us here, twitch.tv/epic_realms if you want to see that amazing crew playing Dead by Daylight together. Live February 6th, we're going to be joined by fantasy author Jess Montefield. She wrote the amazing Dragon of Shadow and Air series, as well as the Sheridan series. That podcast will be available the 7th. Again, it will be live on the 6th. Live February 20th, Kobold Press's Kobold-in-Chief, Wolfgang Bauer, is going to be joining us. He's going to talk about Kobold Press. Yeah. Kobold Press, the creation, the evolution. Maybe we'll get into their new RPG system that they're creating and putting together. So that's going to be February 20th. The podcast will be available the 21st. So follow us, give a rate, review, push all the buttons. Make sure to give those reviews. It helps us and it helps our guests. It really does. So please do that. Thank you all for listening. For Nur-D, I am Nick, and I'd like to thank you all for listening to Epic Realms.